right now, or
It's been clicked. Just waiting on YouTube. All right, I think
but like right now?
it's like right now, like we're live.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm ready.
All
I'm ready.
right. Hold on. I think Charlie fucked up this schedule for the other stream. Just 1 second, guys. Oh no, he didn't. He didn't. It's fine. Chat scared
No
me for a second.
faith.
Chat scared me. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tapcaf Transmissions, the bravest Star Wars podcast and the only one brave enough to tackle something with the name diversity in it. I'm just looking at the comments before this video. A lot of people not understanding that Diversity Alliance, which is what we'll be discussing today, is the name of book 8, maybe?
8, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, book 8 in the phenomenal Young Jedi Knight series. My name is Justin Eckhart's Ladder, joined as always by my very good friend Corey. How are you doing, Corey?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to talk about some young Jedi Knights who are really coming into their own halfway through this series. It's heartwarming, really. It's what it is. How about you, though? Are you feeling lifted up by our young Jedi Knights, or are you still down in the dumps without our young Jedi Knights?
No, I'm feeling pretty lifted up. This was a good book. One of the more serious ones, though. Like the tone is starting to change a little bit. I've noticed. It's something you kind of picked up on as well. Like a bit more serious this time.
Yeah. They barely contain any more of Jason's jokes. We get some Raynar jokes. Sorry, if you are using the ebook versions of these, the Raynat jokes. But
yeah, and Raynar, for those looking at my image, is the kid with the, what would you even call his hairstyle? It's like
just got out of the shower.
Yeah, it's the fuck me up fam hairstyle. That's what he's got going here. It looks.
Or like he's a few years off of being, God, what was that?
Like Sum 41?
Sugar Ray?
Sugar Ray, yeah. He kind of looks like Derek Whibley from Sum 41 as well.
That's not wrong.
Derek Whibley's also really short, so it probably fits.
I mean, if you were to go with like an Animorphs book cover, then it's probably his and Lois pictures are like halfway between Marco and the bear. Or no, Marco was a gorilla. Either way.
Yeah. It's a good reference.
So I'm getting my Animorphs book or Animorphs lore wrong. We have to cover all the Animorphs books next.
Yeah, I only know really based on what you've explained to me about Animorphs, so I'd be down to cover one of them.
It does come up a lot, doesn't it?
Has that been on the podcast, or has that been kind of our own thing?
I think it's just been on the podcast, because I think I brought it up last time we were talking about these covers. But yeah.
Yeah, so like Raynar would be like the Animorph of someone getting in the shower with their hair wet and then their hair dry.
The worst Animorph.
Yeah. So has there been any news this week, really? Nothing that I can think of before we get right into the book. I'm just trying to think. We got E3 coming up, so it's been kind of quiet.
Yeah, is Ubisoft is this weekend, so there's a small chance we hear about their Star Wars game, because like their game has been officially announced. We just don't have any details on it, so maybe we'll get something this weekend. But
I would be surprised.
I wouldn't hold my breath.
It hadn't. Yeah. It's also possible we get something on Xbox, which is Sunday. I think Ubisoft is Saturday, and then Xbox is Sunday. I'm most excited for Halo, but we'll talk about that, I'm sure, after it comes out. But yeah, other than that, I mean, we've got like a little bit of Book of Boba Fett finished filming season 1. They're filming,
and all the little production trinkets, I guess, have season 1 written on it. So who knows if that's hopefulness among the crew, or if that's because there's actually going to be more to it. Yeah.
So that was one thing. They also we know there was a thing, I think it was inside the actor's studio with Ewan McGregor and Pedro Pascal, and he talked about they're filming Obi-Wan right now, and there's also been some rumors that they're also filming Mando season 3. So yeah, lots of good Star Wars stuff coming out. Cassian, I think, is also wrapped, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. Like they'd been in actual production on that for a while, I think, because there was some.
Yeah.
The Cassian was one of the few shows where we actually got any kind of look at it in the announcements that Kennedy did. That was last year now, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Summer 2020.
Yeah, it was.
Jeez.
What was I gonna say? Shit, I forget. But yeah, lots of good Star Wars stuff coming. I know we kind of talked about this, but of those like 4 that we just mentioned, is there one that you're kind of most excited about?
So that's Book of Boba Fett, Mando Season 3, Cassian Andor, and what's the 4th?
Obi-Wan? Did you say that?
Right.
Obi-Wan, Boba Fett, Cassian, Mando Season 3.
Mando. Okay. I mean, I'm really excited to see Ewan McGregor back, but even if I'm not sure what the season or what the series is going to be like, and I do really like Rogue One, so Cassian's kind of exciting for me, but I'm still mostly curious, I think, to see where Mando is going to go from here, especially with Luke, as I remember, abducting Grogu at the end of last season. So...
Yeah, there was. There's been some rumors too about just pure speculation. It seems to be that Saw Gerrera is coming back, in some capacity for Cassian, and there's also been rumors that Ben Mendelsohn, that's his name, right, will be returning as Krennic, which that makes a lot of sense, and that would be awesome.
Yeah,
he would kind of be, if we're looking at the Bad Batch, he would kind of be like the Crosshair and the what's his name, Rampart of the Andor show. I can see, which would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still mostly looking forward to see what Disciple is going to be about, but yeah, I'll probably have to wait another 3 years before hearing literally anything about that.
Yeah.
So,
did you watch the Battlefield trailer?
I did not. I watched part of the countdown, and that was exciting. But then when it switched to another stream, I was like, okay, I watched the stream, so I'm out on that. But... Yeah,
they did like the dumbest thing ever. They started with like a countdown. Well, first of all, everyone was led to believe that the trailer would be at, I think it was 10 Eastern time.
Well, they had a countdown to their countdown,
right?
And then switched to another stream for the actual trailer.
Yeah, they had 600,000 people or so waiting for it to start, and like it's very easy to make a video with the first bit being a countdown, and then you're a live stream. But
did they do the new YouTube thing where you can like pass off to another video after a premiere? Is that what happened, or was it just like a new video came out?
It just ended, and then you had to go click the channel, click the other, the other video. It was like actually ludicrous. Like it was the worst trailer management I've seen in my entire life.
Like I could understand if they had been using the new feature and didn't really understand how it worked, and then just something went wrong there. But like,
you mean like the raid feature, right?
Yeah, the new like internal raid thing, because you can't do it for other channels. You can just do it for your own content. So that seems to be like the most obvious application of it, where maybe they're like, oh, we can post this, then we can get rid of the time, the countdown, and not have to have the video re-render afterwards. And I could see getting hopeful for that and then having it mess up, but apparently that's not what happened, and they just did something real dumb. So
yeah. All right, so enough Battlefield. Let's talk about Diversity Alliance. And before we get started, what is the Diversity Alliance, Corey?
The Diversity Alliance is a political movement led by Nola Tarkonen. Yeah. And she is a Twi'lek who was the sister, of course, of the Twi'lek from episode 6, who got thrown to Jabba's Rancor, who, of course, just appeared in the most recent episode of second most recent episode of the Bad Batch. So it's all coming together because Star Wars definitely has enough characters that we don't need to do this. Please stop doing this. But yeah, so she is trying to put together a kind of coalition of all the aliens to ostensibly the outward position that they're claiming, because they are trying to represent themselves as a legitimate political party in the galaxy. They're saying they want rights that have been denied to them under the Empire and going forward, because a lot of them got enslaved or killed by Palpatine. But in reality, she is evil McBad guy who wants to murder and eat humans. Well, she doesn't eat the humans. Her Shistavanian eats the humans. But they are essentially trying to reuse the Death Seed plague that was used in the X-Wing books.
I don't think it was. No, it wasn't the Death Seed in X-Wing. It's the. Well, I mean, they don't say this specifically, but I had that in my notes too. It's because it is very similar to it's like opposite of the Krytos virus, where it's like Krytos
I think
virus.
it was meant to be like a reverse engineered and reapplied Krytos virus, because they do mention Death Seed, but
yeah, that's bugs.
Because she gets the virus from someone else and then sends it back with him to the all-human colony, kills all those humans. Now they're looking to wipe out humans.
And it is very, like, the way they die is very similar too, because it's like their skin falls off and stuff. It's very gnarly. Yeah.
Kind of gross, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, the Diversity Alliance, they do kind of, like you said, ostensibly have these goals, but they do also get pretty mask off, like when actually talking to aliens. Like, she's like, it's time to make humans suffer like we did. It's just like, you know, there's somebody in the back who's like, yeah, alien rights. And they're like, humans suffer? Like, what? Like,
yeah.
like, you know, there's somebody who's just like a little not for that, but just like when you're in a crowd of like excited people.
Mob mentality just gets people going.
Yeah, just like in the comments, damn, not even Ek can escape the woke shit. It's like you don't even take the time to understand that Diversity Alliance is the name of the book we're discussing. Which, you know, should be obvious based on the fact that if you look to the right of your screen, I've got a picture of a book that says Diversity Alliance right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a trigger word for some people now, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, that's the...
Do you think that
that's the joke that they'd be offended by?
And they call themselves aliens as well. Do you think that is kind of like humanocentric in a weird way? Like,
yeah, it was kind of weird for this because in an exam, like, there's room for like an actual better worked out story where like there are a group of non-human species that are upset about how they were treated under the Empire, and even before then, because that was a big part of why the CIS was so popular, because of certain like core humanocentric things that you include some sort of examination of this. It's a kid book, obviously, so it's not going to be this, but you include some element of like, oh, and then they're treated as these individual stereotypes within human culture, how like, oh, all these other aliens are exactly this way, but then when they're going through their roster of who's within the Diversity Alliance, it's like, oh yeah, they're very large and strong.
Yeah,
and these are
they're dumb, but they'll
people.
Yeah,
like it just reduces them all to the exact same thing that you'd think they'd be upset about humans reducing them to. So
right, so maybe that'll be a thing later on where it's like she doesn't actually give a shit, but it seems like she does kind of give a shit because
she's just very angry.
Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of weird though, because she's Ula's I think, is she is it cousin or sister?
I think it's sister.
But the thing is, Ula was fucked over by other aliens. Jabba the Hutt is not a human, except in that one scene in episode 4. Jabba the Hutt's not a human. Bib Fortuna's not a human. Like, humans had nothing to do with Ula's death. And like, that was a little weird for me. Like,
yeah, like she's more of a like hero, like trying to do stuff on Ryloth, you'd think, but instead she's going against the New Republic rather than the Hutts or whomever.
This is like Harrison Dula if she had discovered 4chan. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't remember, because these ones I remember reading, but I have no idea where this goes. So I'm kind of excited to see that. Speaking of Ryloth, though, it's kind of interesting how the Twi'lek lore changes. There's like a lot of planets that have kind of existed kind of as part of Star Wars lore for a long time. Ryloth is a good example. And then when like they're actually featured in Clone Wars, they're quite different. And Clone Wars is like where a lot of them come to prominence for the general fan. I talked about this on Twitter today. It's like, when you talk about Ryloth, the Clone Wars takes some ideas of Ryloth. Like, there's a lot of Twi'leks living underground. It's it's very difficult conditions. But the book describes it as basically this like hell world. It's kind of like similar to how Kashyyyk in like the books, it's like, oh, it's basically the Coruscant of the trees, and then you see it in Revenge of the Sith. Now it's just one scene. It could just be one beach, but it's like it's like a non-exaggerated version of what you get in the books, basically.
Yeah.
Which is kind of disappointing, and like that's what I'm worried they're gonna do to Kuat when it eventually shows up. Like I'm worried they're gonna make Kuat like just like a crappy little shipbuilding world. But
yeah. Well, we get Kuar in this book, so
yeah, we do.
At first, I wasn't sure if it was going to be like actually Kuar, or if it was going to be Kuat with another consistent typo. So that was something to look forward to in this.
Yeah. One other thing I want to mention on the Twi'leks, though, is the teeth thing, which is kind of funny because it changed from canon to Legends. In Legends, the idea is all Twi'leks have like the sharp teeth, like Bib Fortuna does, but then the females they kind of shave it down, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because Bib Fortuna is like you can't shave that down and still have teeth there. And then in canon, it's the idea that a lot of Twi'lek, mostly men, shave their teeth into these points. So
yeah,
just something that I thought is funny. It's like these things that kind of just have existed forever and people just accept as part of the lore, just kind of change or like get slightly altered over time.
It's always made me really uncomfortable, no matter who's doing the filing, because I don't want to think about filing my teeth.
Well, have you ever seen like when they put what are they called? Not dentures, like the permanent dentures into someone's mouth. They shave the teeth down.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah. I don't like teeth stuff.
So
I don't
basically,
like eye stuff.
Before you get the stuff in your mouth, you've got like these little teeth that are like a centimeter thick or like half a centimeter thick. It's really weird. Anyway,
they do the same thing in Critical Role, where one of the characters is like a half orc who's trying to not look as orky, so he like files his tusks down, and every time I hear about anything like shaving teeth down like that, it just makes me cringe. It makes me don't like it. Don't like it. Don't like it. Don't want it.
Evil Coleslaw in the chat says more like forced diversity lines. Yeah, that's actually what I started calling my family when we had my daughter, because it was for a while it was me and Gus, two guys and a girl, and then we had a girl, which is forced diversity. So now my family's called the Diversity Alliance. Yeah,
it's like, did you ask Elsie like why
She said something about chromosomes and X and Y. Like I didn't listen. I just started screaming.
Yeah, like you told me that day, like, why do you have to make it political? And then you walked out of the room.
We didn't find out till my daughter was born. I just stood up and just said, "This is dumb," and just walked out. Made a YouTube video about it. What was I gonna say?
Why didn't you just hire the baby that was most qualified?
That's the dumbest looking one, most like me. Oh man, we got off track quickly. Not as much as I thought we might. When I threw it over to you and I was like, Corey, do you want to describe the Diversity Alliance? I was like, I'm gonna give him the opportunity to go off the rails with it. But,
well, there is one thing that I want to talk about with Nola that I thought was really weird, where it starts off with a few pages of her talking about what her goals are. And she's like, she knew how to get what she wanted with her words. And then later on, someone's like, look at this hive mind, or the Bith musicians want to join. They can play some music for us and get people on our side. She's like, you can't kill people with music. Like, no, isn't this what you were saying you wanted to do instead first?
It's funny too, because like the Bith and the Twi'lek are like two examples. Probably the Bith, Twi'lek, and the Hutt are probably the three Star Wars species that are most defined by like their appearance in the movies. At least in the EU, it's like all Twi'lek women are slaves because we see one Twi'lek woman and she's a slave.
Yeah.
All Bith are musicians because we see a group of Bith and they're musicians.
Yeah, they literally get referred to as the Bith musicians in this book. It's like, what were these societies like before they met the rest of the galaxy? Did someone like first discover the Bith planet, do a flyover, and it's just a bunch of people holding a tuba? Like,
the party planet.
Tuba, but yeah.
Yeah.
None of us built any houses because we only know how to play instruments.
No one sleeps on Bith or whatever the homeworld's called. It's too damn noisy. Yeah. Like Bith's got the best party school in the galaxy. Just 'cause, like, all musicians are there. But yeah, I guess we should probably talk a little bit about the actual story. This is basically part 2 to the last book. We're kind of following Raynar Thule again, who's the kid with the just out of the shower. His father's been kidnapped. His father, of course, is from Alderaan, because most people in Star Wars EU are from Alderaan or Corellia. And yeah, they're part of this big kind of like trading organization. We don't know what his father was up to, and he just kind of disappeared. So there's a bunch of people after him, including someone who seems to be Boba Fett is after him. And you said so it's not actually Boba Fett, right? Was that a retcon, or does that get covered in one of the subsequent books?
Yeah, it's a retcon that it's Island Vel.
Right.
I forget where exactly that gets established, but it does kind of fit in with like Nola's question. You're like, are you a woman under
that's
that
what I was
armor?
thinking.
Is that why
too.
you want to take your helmet off? And that's probably what gave them the idea, because there was some other inconsistencies early that they had to deal with. I think one of the things that was brought up with it is just that Boba does not act like Boba in any way in these books. So
he acts more like Tales of the Bounty Hunters Boba.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
So they're like, yeah, that's Boba's daughter doing all this, pretending to be him. Everyone pretends to be Boba at some point. His daughter, Thrawn,
yeah. Han Solo doesn't Han Solo do that when he kills Thraken? Doesn't he dress up as Boba?
Is it Boba? I don't know.
I thought there was like a picture. Han kills
when he kills Heckin Thraken.
Yeah. There's like a picture where it's like Aelin, Han Solo in a Boba Fett outfit, then Boba Fett. If you look up assassination of Thraken South Solo, it's the first thing that comes up.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
I only have 3 notes for this, and that's one of them. So
my favorite note was, imagine being cock blocked by racism. Like in regards to, so another kind of small universe thing that goes on in this is Chewbacca encounters his friend who he believed was dead from.
Yeah.
Which book was that?
That was from
Darkest Night.
Darkest Night, the one where they're on Kashyyyk and
because they go there because of her death, right? Isn't that why they go there? Yeah. And of course she's not dead, so good on KJA and Rebecca Moesta for dropping those kind of little plot threads there, picking those up nicely. But yeah, it's a small universe thing. Basically, the Solo kids who go to the first, they go to the fleet to drop Raynar off, and then they're kind of trying to track down Raynar's father. They go to this planet, which is Kuar. They're being attacked by these giant spiders, not the crystal spiders from Kessel, these different spiders, and they're saved by Chewbacca's long-lost friend, who her thing is she didn't want to be kind of constrained by Wookiee hierarchy and society, and she failed doing her kind of it's like her test or whatever that we see in that book where they go down to the floor. So she just leaves, fakes her own death, and she saves them, of course, which, very small galaxy. And the thing is, though, she's joined the Diversity Alliance. So
yeah, so she's very standoffish with Jason, Jaina, and Tanel Ka, but really happy to see Loie. And they start kind of making her warm up to the idea of working with those 3 at least. But then Raynar's uncle, Tycho, not to be confused with
not Tycho,
cool
Tyko.
Yeah.
He's fat. They mentioned that a few times.
So he was on Raynar's ship with his mom, where they were trying to hide from all the bounty hunters that are out looking for Raynar's dad and their entire family, which is all very important to the Diversity Alliance to get them. And the uncle is like just terrible. The whole family kind of sucks, but the uncle is especially terrible. Yeah. And he kind of comes and just Raba's like, no, I'm done with this shit, and leaves. Which, understandable. I'd leave if I met him too.
But I mean, it kind of seems like, like her and I almost said Chewbacca, her and Lobaka are spending a lot. They spend like the whole night together, and then in the morning, Lobaka's asleep in the ship, and it's like, why isn't she in here with you? And it's like, yeah, she doesn't like humans. And the droid's like, he tried really hard to get her to come. So it's like, imagine being cock blocked by racism.
Yeah.
And that's her on the cover, by the way. I don't doesn't mention her having shaved arms, but yeah.
Well, she is Loi's. Her and Loi were supposed to get married. They were
Lobaka's sister's best friend as well.
Yeah. She has a nice hat apparently, so there's that.
Yeah, I thought that like they found out she was dead though because of course they don't actually see her body at Kashyyyk. She fakes being killed by like a carnivorous flower.
Yeah, Kyle Katarn actually.
I thought it was her headband that they found, but it must have been a bag or something. I don't remember.
Wasn't it even just some of her fur in a blood clot somewhere? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I figured after that book that she wasn't dead because I have very good detective skills, and also they don't tend to kill a lot of the children characters in this book.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So speaking of children characters, as this is happening, we also have Zek, who is, of course, spent a lot of time under the Shadow Academy. He's now kind of operating as a bounty hunter. I first had thought that Zek was going to show up on Kuar when that ship was landing, but it was Tycho. So Zek is... The whole thing is that... what's his name? What's the dad's name again? So I can stop.
Bornin.
Yeah, so Bornin... It's not quite clear to me exactly why everyone wants him so bad. What the diversity
alliance... They explained it in the prior book. I just don't remember what he had.
Well, so the Diversity Alliance has this bomb, or it's this agent, like we talked about, probably reverse engineered Krytos virus that they use, and it targets humans and kills humans in a really painful way. It's kind of my understanding that they're chasing him because he knows what's going on. Like that's kind of what this book...
part of it now, but
yeah.
Part of it was like, I think the initial thing was that he was carrying cargo for some of it and found out what it was for the creatively named Born Aaron whatever, which is the name of their company, because his name is Bornin, his wife's name is Aaron. And much like Tendrando Arms, the only way to name something is to combine people's names, which is why this should have been the Eckery podcast. So
Tendrando Arms is a good name though. Or is it? Yeah, because it's Tendra and Lando. Or is it Tendrando? Yeah,
it's Tendrando.
Yeah, that's a good name. That's a good name.
Well, only because both of their names are individually cool.
Yeah, fair enough.
If their names were like Hank and Lucy, would they have called it Hussy Arms, and then would that have been just as cool? I don't think so.
No, it would have been Lunk.
That sounds awful. That just sounds like they dropped something.
Yeah, it's not great. So yeah, everyone's kind of chasing him. Zek, who's now a bounty hunter, is also trying to get his foot into the door. And of course, he finds a job which not only will sort of help him get his reputation up as a bounty hunter, but is also kind of getting him in the middle of things, because he's tracking down the person who carried the virus in the first place to another planet called, it's like Gemelin or something? But yeah. To another planet, like a ghost planet that's completely... Yeah, Gamelin, completely wiped out by the virus. And so it's all kind of coming together. And this book is kind of weird because usually, although we do have the greater plot arcs going on, I think this is the first book that actually kind of leaves the story unresolved.
Yeah.
Like in each of the Shadow Academy books, like we know the Shadow Academy is out there. Zek leaves, but still the individual kind of smaller arc for the book is usually wrapped up pretty nicely. But this one actually ends with a bit of a cliffhanger, with the uncle being kidnapped by IG-88, almost certainly some sort of ploy because he owns Mechas 3, or the droid foundries on Mechas 3, which makes IG-88.
Yeah.
So it ends with him being kidnapped. Things are worse than they started. We still don't know where the father is. We still don't know what's going on with the Diversity Alliance. The Diversity Alliance really hasn't even left the cave they're in on Ryloth. So yeah, still kind of a lot outstanding at this point.
Yeah, and like Zek gets hired by Bornenthal to track down Tycho. So that's how, like, usually at least some part of all the plot threads do come together in every other book, but this does leave not just some of the broader points that are really gone over in the book.
You mean Boba gets hired, doesn't he? Zek
No,
gets
Zek
hired
does.
Did I miss that?
Yeah.
When does that happen?
That's when he's coming back from the he's coming back from his mission. He's got the cube from Gamlin, and he gives it to the bartender. He's like, "Oh, I have another job for you. You got to talk to this other client." And the client is Master Wary.
I legitimately...
It's possible that this was the start of the next book, because it was a bit weird the way the ebook had it laid out. It seemed like it was jumping from the end of the one book to an early chapter preview of the next.
That would
and
make
there was
sense.
some typos.
So
I might be just talking about the next one.
Yeah, because I listened to the audiobook for the last half of this, because I like to listen to the audiobook, and so that would make sense. Yeah. Interesting. So Zek probably going to be involved in the next one. I mean, almost certainly going to be involved. But yeah, it's definitely a different one. I mean, I still liked it though. What were your thoughts generally? We also there was also too the IG scenes at the end is a bit longer than kind of I'm suggesting. They actually spend a lot of time on this one planet because they're about to leave, and then Tycho shows up. I thought he was up to something shady, but he's just kind of a dumbass. It seems anyway. And then the IG droid shows up with some other kind of assassin droids, and there's a big kind of fight through the planet's actually pretty cool because it was taken over by the Mandalorians like a long time ago, and by the time everyone arrives it's pretty much barren, but there is this kind of one like mesa that's kind of been like carved down in the middle, and there's like a city, so it's kind of a cool... I really like that location. Yeah It kind of reminded me of that planet from it's almost like an Utapau in a way, but also kind of that planet from why am I forgetting the name of the planet? From Callista Book 2. Why am I forgetting the name of that right now?
Belsavis?
Yeah, Belsavis. Isn't Belsavis? It's like built into a crater, into a crack.
Yeah, they've got like it's like an ice world, but they've got the more temperate like holes in the ice that they can actually live in with the cities built in it. Yeah, but
so it's not really like that because it's like most of the planet's fine. Then there's this giant like kilometer high mesa, and then there's like it's like carved out of the middle, kind of.
Yeah, but like all the thalls are all unbearable, and the kids are also like Jane and Jason don't know how to mind their own business. Where like Jason first finds Raynar in the middle of the forest. He's like, "Oh, what's up, Raynar?" Raynar says nothing, and rather than minding his own business with this person who they have relentlessly bullied for the last few years, Jason's like, "Nah." When someone says nothing, that's not what's going on. And so he tells him. Raynar tells Jason that he's trying to meditate and find out where his father is, see if the Force will tell him. And when it's decided that Luke is going to bring Raynar to his family's fleet, Jaina's like, yeah, we haven't been very nice to you before, so we're going to come with you in your time of need. It's like, no, fuck off.
Let me take some of the other kids that are here. You stay with Tion for once.
Like, he's got to have other people who he's gotten along with better than the Solos who've...
I mean, to be fair,
they've been trying to make up with him in the last few
books. He is kind
but...
of insufferable in the first few books.
Yeah.
Like, he's like the guy who, like, teacher, you forgot to collect the homework today.
Yeah. But, like, there's got to be some other people that have been, like, better friends with him. No, I guess, like, no one liked him. So maybe the twins are all he's got. Like, Tenelka and Loey, I don't think they ever say anything to him, really. But we have been kind of getting, with Rabba coming back, we've got the we've got like pairings for all of them now, where we're getting a lot of Jaina and
Tenel
Zach,
Khan,
where they'll each talk
Jason,
about each other.
Zach, and
Yeah.
which is kind of what you need for you do need that in the young reader novels, because it's all about like, I mean, that's all a young reader book is. It's like, it's a regular story, somewhat tailored to like young people's experiences, and, you know, having your crush and having your crush lose her arm, and like having your crush still be a freak at like swimming and stuff. That's the usual thing that people go through.
Yeah. Like fixing starship engines and kind of hiding your smiles from your crush. Like, that's, who hasn't been there?
Seeing your crush murder somebody in an arena, it's normal stuff.
Yeah, when your teacher makes you fight your crush repeatedly, and building your first lightsaber with your crush.
Your crush being tortured.
The princess of a space empire.
What was I going to say?
Growing up as the heirs to a space oligarchy that was theoretically reinstating democracy.
Matriarchal.
No, I mean Jaina and Jason there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The
Hapens aren't trying. I was going to say.
The Hapens already have, they're a well-established monarchy. It's Jaina and Jason that are the kids of the chief of state, and one of them gets to install himself as the new space emperor, so...
Well, and Jaina probably is like space empress for at least a while, I bet.
Yeah.
But
well, yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's what happens with any sci-fi thing where you get an expanded universe. Is like people only care about the characters they know about, which means you have to find reasons for them to stay relevant. Which means inevitably Star Wars becomes monarchist, no matter what you try to do with the story.
Kind of a dick move for Luke not to bring the leave the kids the Shadow Chaser, right?
Yeah, like, just, you'll all die, it's fine.
It's like Jason even says, like, because when they're all going, because Luke takes Raynar to the fleet. It's like he's in the Shadow Chaser, and so is Jason. And Jason's like, I know nothing can hurt us here, but the Rock Dragon, which is the Hapen ship that Tenel Ka's flying, it's like, that thing can get fucked up. So it's like Luke's leaving. He's like, all right, I'm going to take this invincible ship, kids. Good luck.
Yeah, I don't think Luke's expecting anything to happen. I don't know why he even bothered with this. Like, if I'm Luke and this really demanding family's like, you need to personally escort our son, I'd be like, no, fuck yourself. You can come get him. Because, like, once he's gone, because, like, Luke's not staying with them. He's not staying inside the Shadow Chaser. Like, just, you guys, if you're that concerned about it, you come to Yavin and you get him.
They should have sent Leia to do it. Leia would have enjoyed it because, you know, she'd get to see her Alderaanian friends. Well, fellow countrymen.
If your planet was destroyed and the only reminders you had of it were the Thulls, would you ever want to see them again?
Isn't Tycho Alderaanian?
Yeah, Tycho Selchu.
Yeah, sorry, Tycho Selchu.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Tycho would be Alderaanian. Okay, so yeah, spend your time with Tycho instead. I don't know.
Tycho, not Tycho.
Yeah, well, Tycho.
I wonder if Tycho's one of those names that like George Lucas had in like one of his original scripts or something.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird that it pops up twice with two different spellings.
Well, they're all like Kevin J. Anderson's willing to use anything, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe this was initially meant to be Tycho Selchu, and they just got the character entirely wrong and made a typo.
I think this is before Tycho was invented.
Or it might be because of would it be?
Yeah, because I think X-Wing was 98. This was 97, so.
No, X-Wing wasn't 98, was it?
Wasn't it?
There's no way. No, that wasn't 2 years before
maybe it was 96. Yeah, it was 96. My bad.
God, so much happened in those 4 years.
I know. It's crazy the amount
Introduced all those characters, then killed them all off in NJO.
It's insane the amount of books they got out. It really is. Especially like this one came out, I think, 3-4 months after the first one. And it's like, I mean, the only person you really see doing that now is like Timothy Zahn with like the Thrawn books, where he'll like do them on a year basis. But like back then, books were coming out like 4 or 6 months after their predecessors. Yeah. At least
Well, they were
during
initially only going to do, before like Heir to the Empire came out, they were only planning to do like one Star Wars book a year, this big blockbuster thing.
Mhm.
It's like, no, let's do one a month.
Like literally. Yeah, we never really hit that, and it feels like right now, I don't know. It's hard to say. I wonder what it would be like to go back now and like what the fan reaction, even among book lovers, like how much excitement there was for a new book. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like I feel like, you know, Alpha Squadron 3 for me was the big one where it was like, for me it was a really big book, but like online there was like no talk about it at all.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't really have much context before 2006 because that's when I started running like forums and stuff around the mod. And that's when I kind of started getting a feel for how people were feeling about like kind of the NJO was finished, but it was only 3 years out at that point.
Mhm.
And then Darknet's Crisis, I think, was coming out. And then Legacy of the Force and Fate of the Jedi were coming out. And I think with all four of those, there was already a sense of like, oh, this is the latest thing that ruined Star Wars, but I don't know what it was like around
Yeah.
the
I mean, I
release
kind of
of
remember.
like X-Wing and everything.
Yeah, I kind of remember that, especially with the NJO. But like for me, I just wasn't. I used to read the books, but like I would just go to chapters and get them like months or a year after they came out. Like especially for these books, like I was collecting them. Like I probably got my first like Legends book. I don't know, like maybe like 2000 or like so.
Yeah.
After most of it had come out already, you know, and like I said before,
Yeah.
it was one of the Young Jedi Knights books which I got first. And it was because of what's her name? What's her name? The crazy woman. The Tenel kicks in the shins.
Tamith Kai.
Tamith Kai, yeah. Because I saw her and I was like, "Who's that?"
That was your Crystal the Fox.
No, it was more just like an interest. Same with yeah. Same with Jorah Sabayoth. He was one that like I'd see that before I bought the
This
book.
old shirtless man.
Yeah, I'd be like, who's this wizard? Basically, because it was cool.
Yeah.
It's like this guy looks more powerful than the Emperor. Like I remember thinking that as a kid.
Yeah, like I'd gotten into Star Wars a few years before Revenge of the Sith was coming out, so I must have been like, yeah, and I guess I was into it when Battlefront 1 came out already, so it would have been like 2002, 2003, and I started reading some of the books, I think, but it was just prior to being terminally online like I am now, so
exactly. Older fans, from what I understand, have quite a different experience, but like I know a lot of younger fans our age too were also getting in through the like I'm sure you probably read some of the younger reader stuff like the like I remember, do you ever read those Boba Fett books, like the young reader Boba Fett books?
not Boba Fett, but I did read like Jedi Apprentice and Jedi Quest or whatever they were called, and then I accidentally stole one from my teacher.
There was a really good one about young Boba Fett that I loved back in the day. It was like it picked up from like right after his dad is killed, and like he goes back to Camino. He takes the
That's familiar.
He takes the Slave One and like his dad's armor and stuff, and it's really cool. And then he just explores the galaxy. I'm sure none of it, I'm sure all of it's contradicted by like the Clone Wars and stuff, but
yeah,
I remember really loving those and just reading them over and over again back in the day.
Yeah. Well, any last thoughts on Diversity Alliance before we get to our questions for tonight?
No,
I have one more note, but
yeah, let me check my notes. Hit me with yours as I'm checking mine.
So I thought computers in Star Wars were supposed to be good, but then MTD was talking about searching files on Born in Thul, and Jason's like, anything else? And MTD is like, in all probability, yes, Master Jason. Please be patient. I have 15,342 other files to search. Like I could Control F and then search in directory on many more files than that and find results much faster on my computer now. So
do you think 15,000 files?
I do that all the time with just the mod files.
Yeah, but those files are probably just like a single string, right?
No, some are like 15,000, 20,000 lines long with like XML data. And like these aren't going to be huge books that it's necessarily searching. It's going to be like a receipt for a bottle of sangria that Born and bought on Corellia once.
I thought it was mostly news articles, but yeah. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
it's not a lot of text. And
One thing that I had in my notes was I had a, because so for those who kind of have not understood the references, why we're talking about words being fucked up, because we're basically reading scans of the book that have been mostly translated well to text because these never got actual digital releases. So there's some small errors, like you'll have a C and an L together, or an L and a C accidentally form a K, for example. But one thing that was really funny is someone, I don't remember who, was described as having fetal eyes instead of feral eyes, which I thought was really funny. Like eyes at
That's
like
great.
a fetus.
I turned to Jason's undeveloped face.
His non-working eyes stared back at me. It's like, yeah. So that was good.
That's great.
But yeah, let's give final impressions. You want to go ahead first, Corey?
Yeah, I think this was my favorite of the Young Jedi Knight books so far. I don't know if it's partially because I either didn't read these ones initially when I was reading the other ones, so I don't have the memory of them, so it's not kind of spoiled by that, or if it's because they like actually are better. But I really like this one.
Yeah, this one I thought was really good too. I like their time on the world. Kuar was really interesting, and by the way, I meant to point that out. That is Kuar on the cover there. It's got like these big towers with chains between them, and there's a scene where they're running from the one of the spiders. It's pretty intense. But yeah, this was definitely one of my favorites. Probably not my favorite, just because I don't know. I always like the Yavin stuff, but yeah, definitely up there for me. Very enjoyable, like always. I'm sad we're slowly running out. We're over halfway.
Yeah, that's very sad.
Do you want to pull up some questions? And I'm going to check our podcast reviews as you do that, if you can.
All right. So our first one this week comes from Joshua. We have quite a few to go over. Joshua says, love the podcast. I've read all of NJO and currently on book 7 of Legacy of the Force. Just want to know if you guys hate Ben Skywalker as much as I do. He seems like a little whiny baby most of the time, and in my opinion, totally got his mom killed by not letting her tell Luke about Jason. And as far as I am, he still hasn't told Luke about Jason talking to Lumaya. So yeah, it just pisses me off wondering your opinion on this.
Just trying not to spoil him, I guess. Yeah, Ben is really annoying. That's when he's in the it's like the anti-diversity alliance, basically.
Yeah.
Coruscant Guard, right? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's really annoying in that because he is. But I mean, it's also kind of like the same thing. He's kind of like a similar thing that's going on with Jason at the same time. He's being manipulated by somebody who's, has all the answers and stuff.
Yeah, he's young. You can't be too hard on him. Yeah. He's been through some shit by that point as well.
And yeah, without spoiling stuff, he does get better.
Yeah, and he always looked up to Jason. He was put with Jason by his parents, so he trusts Jason kind of implicitly. Jason's the biggest influence on his life. And like Jason's this big hero to the galaxy for like up until that point. So he's going to be like, oh, he's not doing anything wrong. Please don't tell Dad, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So
yeah, totally.
We'll definitely talk about that a lot more when we get to Legacy of the Force, but he's in a tough place.
Yeah, and it gets worse for a while, and then, I mean, we all know that even, again, I won't spoil anything, but of course, Jason and Luke and everyone else is going to come to blows, and without spoiling anything, Ben's going to be right in the middle, so. Yeah.
Javier is asking, if you had the option to command a ship in Star Wars from a GR-75 to the Supremacy, what would you like to command? Personally, I'd want a Bellator. It has a dope design. It's fairly quick and well-rounded. Also, it doesn't hurt that I'm a Latin language fanboy and Bellator means fighter or warrior.
I always really like the idea of a CR-90. It's like, I don't know. It just seems like a kind of a dope ride. You can just fuck around, fly around, customize it all you want. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a cool ship. It's one of the coolest looking ships too, in my opinion. I don't want to be commanding 400,000 people on Super Star Destroyer. Let me have like me and my 50 like homies flying around.
Yeah, that's why I'd want some sort of freighter like Millennium Falcon size that I can use as a house and just park it somewhere, fly it somewhere if I need to. I don't want to be in a war. I have the opportunity to be in wars in real life, and I've not taken any of those opportunities.
But I mean, the Falcon's kind of small. Like, it doesn't even, like, that's my idea too. But like, the Falcon doesn't even have like a proper shitter. Like, you're like,
it must.
Okay.
Han lives in that thing.
Yeah, and it's like in the bathroom. Like, look at the maps.
Yeah. Is there a problem with it being in the bathroom?
Do you want to keep your girlfriend living with you? Like, do you think Dana's gonna be cool, like, with you dropping a deuce and she's like in the kitchen hanging out eating supper? Let's get her on and ask.
There's a misunderstanding here.
Okay.
You said the toilet's in the bathroom.
Oh, I meant to say it's in the kitchen. My bad.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a misunderstanding.
No, I definitely want a modified one for that. Maybe get rid of the escape pods for
maybe like the Ghost, because the Ghost is a lot bigger.
The Ghost is bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how big of a house do I want? Like, am I paying to heat that thing? Because I don't know. The Falcon seems relatively decently sized. You've got like maybe something a little bit bigger. Maybe the Ghost is better.
But for me, like, I wouldn't want to fix anything. That's why, like, I have my CR90. I got my like sweet lounge somewhere. And I got the boys down in engineering taking care of whatever happens.
Okay, so now you're paying some boys down in engineering to do work, like just the upkeep and all this. That I don't know. I don't want that.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I just want to live a nice, quiet life without getting blown up by anything ever.
I accept that. All right, do you want to read the next one? I can open mine too.
Yeah, and I've got some stuff starred in there. So Joe is asking, now that the sequel trilogy has given us the ending for the big three, I was wondering what you guys think happened with them in Legends. Happy endings all around, or was one of them tragically killed by a womp rat? Also, what do you think happened to Maul and Ahsoka in the Legends timeline? So
I mean, Maul dies at
Maul
some point.
Doesn't really, like Maul would be alive in the same points that the Clone Wars have him alive, but I don't think he lives. And then there's a comic with Vader and Ahsoka that heavily implies that Ahsoka dies at the end of the scene in Legends, just because like there was never anything after it for it.
Oh,
so
really?
You may as well just assume that was Vader killing her.
I didn't know about that. What's that called?
I forget.
Is that like a one-off, or is that part of like the Republic series?
Nolan was talking about this a few days ago. I'd have to ask him which it was, but I don't think you can really describe the big three as having a happily ever after in Legends or a happy ending at any point, because like they're well into their
60s.
60s or 70s.
Yeah,
Jason
I think Han is in his 70s.
Dead. Anakin's dead. Mara's dead. Like Luke's only son only
probably
child is
an
about to marry a Sith Lord. It's a whole weird. We really lost out on some interesting stories that I'm sure would have come after Crucible.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read Crucible in a long time, so
I read it.
That'll be
last year. It's so weird.
Yeah,
it's like Han gets force powers for a minute. It's very weird.
Yeah, so it didn't seem like they were heading for happiness, and if they had to come up with a crisis, like there was going to be another crisis in the Sword of the Jedi series, you can assume. Well, and at some point between Sword and the Jedi and the future, they had to die. So,
Fate of the Jedi ends with Luke basically saying, "Well, we killed Abeloth for now, but she'll be back, so we got to go get the Dagger of Mortis." So, like, I think Luke's in his 50s. No, because he would be, because it's like 40 something. Yeah, I think he's late 50s.
65.
Really, 65? Is it 40?
Well, he would be born in 19 BBY.
Yeah, right.
And then Fate of the Jedi ends in 44 BBY. Right. I think Crucible's 45.
Right.
So you add those together, he's 44, 40, or 64, 65.
They go through a lot of pain.
And they're definitely dead by the time of legacy. So we know they die at some point in those 100 years. He doesn't live to be 160,
and
sadly,
presumably,
but he must have died much earlier.
Yeah, and Jane
Ben's
is not
dead by
allowed.
then.
Yeah, Ben's not around, so maybe Ben was killed during the purge or whatever.
Maybe. But like, he's not around in any of the flashbacks with Nat and Cole. None of them are.
I honestly, I don't include Legacy of the Force in my headcanon.
Legacy?
Yeah, Legacy, sorry. Legacy. I don't include the Legacy comics in my headcanon at all. I don't like them very much. Now, I've not read all of Legacy 2, so maybe... But I doubt it.
I don't like that they did what they did there, where they jumped so far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of constrained. Like, it ultimately doesn't matter, because we're never going to get anything in that period. But it just... I feel like that really tied their hands in a lot of ways that wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, I can totally see them end up fully retconning it or something, or calling it like alternate history or something if they had went forward, just because...
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say, I guess.
Like, we would have
like
gotten
if you're gonna jump it ahead like 500 years or something.
Yeah,
because now we know, like, you know, like if they had 30 more years of legend stories to tell, like if you know, Disney hadn't been purchased for some reason, they never made a new movie, which is unlikely, but you know, they would have eventually had to fuck around with that time, and they would have been really heavily constrained.
Yeah,
and the comic goes first. If they want to tell a new book story and the comic's in the way, the comic goes first.
Yeah. Del Rey wasn't about to let Dark Horse tell them what to do.
No,
the tale is old as time.
Mm-hmm. Were there any more questions?
We had quite a few. So Hans is asking how the fall of Anakin compares to Jason. I think that's something we're going to talk about a lot coming up.
And we've talked about like a dozen times.
Yeah, so we'll probably... Thank you for the question. We'll probably get to that in like super deep depth in the future. Mm-hmm. There's a Bad Batch question here. A lot of people suggesting Lost Stars for episode 69.
Is that next episode? We could do that. It's long, but it's doable if you're interested.
Next episode next week would be a Bad Batch one covering both episodes, right? Like we did say we wanted to have Alex on for Lost Stars, and he said he was interested in that. So
right, okay.
I think it'd be better if we like just plan Lost Stars around when we can get Alex on and have him.
Well, let's do that soon. Maybe I'll message Alex, or you can message Alex. We'll figure it out. But yeah.
All right. Tristan message saying, I want to start off with a thank you to both of you guys for bringing great content that stuck with me over the last few years and helped shape my outlook on Star Wars and generally pop culture as a whole. Next podcast will be the last one I can listen to for a while, since I'll be going off to boot camp for the U.S. Navy. So I've been a long-time fan of both channels and have a great appreciation for you both.
Good luck.
So good luck, Tristan. We'll miss you.
Mm-hmm.
My last question for the time being, fairly simple, and maybe one you've had before. I was wondering if you guys plan on treating any Star Wars video game story modes like you would a book or TV show and covering those at any point.
Yeah, I think we do plan on that. We talked about doing that for
KOTOR at least.
KOTOR, yeah. And like I'm sure when Jedi Fallen Order 2 comes out, we'll kind of do something like that. The only thing about KOTOR is it's so long. And like, yeah.
Like we could do Pod Racer and we could just talk about that alien you love for a while. But
yeah. What's his name again? Fucking
Nush.
Nostak? It's fuck. Why am I forgetting his name?
You literally just did a video on this.
I literally forgot his name already. It's fucking.
And you were obsessed with it.
Yeah, Nugtosh. Fucking Nugtosh.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Nugtosh. Like I was like, I knew it's a funny name. I remember there's something like a sexual joke I was gonna make, like because it's kind of like nut tug in a way, but yeah.
I thought it sounds more like something to do with weed to me. Like
yeah, it's like man, this Nugtosh. It's like you could use it like a picture of Nugtosh. It's like when you ate too many edibles and you're trying to get up and get a drink of water. It's just him standing up there like. Oh shit. Classic Nug talk.
We have a question from
Keenan,
Christopher.
Right? Oh, Christopher.
Saying, if you had to pick one Legends warlord, not Thrawn, to appear in canon Star Wars, who would it be and why?
It's gotta be the big man.
Zinj?
Yeah. None of them are. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to make.
Most of them aren't really characters, to be honest. Like a lot of them are just background mentions that get brought up, either referenced in novels or referenced in source books. So like Zinj is the only one that really has an actual character.
Dala. You could make Dala stalwart.
Well, yeah, I wasn't really counting her as a warlord, so that makes sense. But I do think if there was another one, like doing something with Kane as an imperial power that exists in the galaxy that's trying to stay out of the fighting. Though I guess the First Order has elements of that. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yep.
And there's some of that in the Alphabet Squadron books as well, but that's only a year later. All right, our final question is from Joel. There's a Bad Batch question, which we will talk about any Bad Batch questions next week when we talk about Bad Batch.
I said it would be fun as well. Someone said, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. If Plagueis had met Count Dooku first, would he have considered Dooku a candidate for his apprentice? And if so, would Dooku have made a better Sith Lord that Plagueis was aspiring from? In a sense that Plagueis and Dooku, while not good, do consider themselves enlightened beings who want to help the galaxy compared to Palpatine's chaos, psychotic, I want power from power's sake nature.
I don't even really consider Dooku to be a Sith Lord, honestly.
Yeah.
Like
I don't think even Palpatine considered Dooku to be a Sith Lord.
He's like the ultimate Dark Jedi, where like he never fully embraces the whole Sith mentality, and like he's not a fraction of the power of Palpatine. He's much older as well. He's like in his 80s by Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. So I don't think I don't think Plagueis would have taken Dooku even if he had no apprentice.
Yeah, didn't No, Plagueis didn't involve any discussion of Dooku between the two. But I think they would have seen Dooku the same way they count.
Yeah.
Is he in Darth Plagueis? It's been so long now.
I think he's in it, but he's still a Jedi at the time.
Yeah, where they're kind of toying with the idea of using him.
Or no, because at the very end, remember Palpatine's meeting with Dooku, isn't he?
Yeah, it's just been too long.
Remember he leaves the Order during the book.
Yeah,
they're meeting in they're having their sexy meetings in the industrial district.
I feel like Plagueis' view of Dooku would have been similar, and had Plagueis still been around. I think Plagueis and Sidious both would have agreed on this is another useful tool, the kind of opposite of Maul, but he would have been set up to fail the same way. Yeah,
I'm sure Plagueis is aware of Dooku from what I remember, but just in the context of being a pawn. Same with Sifo Dyas. And I think a more interesting question is, what if Plagueis found Anakin and he had no apprentice? Would he have tried to seduce him? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know that Dooku and Plagueis were necessarily similar in their goals. I don't think Sidious was that far divorced from Plagueis's. They were all kind of shitheads. They were Sith. They were, I don't think, other than getting himself killed later, I don't think Plagueis would have looked at Sidious and said, no, this is so different from my vision, other than maybe some of the human stuff, like the aliens being in the position they were. But
yeah, that's a good question though. I did have one review I wanted to read as well. This is from CDJ4. This is a beautiful review. It's 5 stars, of course, and it's called The Relief. They have edged me for far too long on Crystal Star, and finally the relief when I finished the episode. It started with little hints here or there about this phantom story called Crystal Star, but my hunger grew and so did the pressure. In those last few hours, I didn't think I was going to make it, but I held out, and the moment of triumph was a good one. Thanks, boys, for helping another man drop a load.
Jesus Christ.
I assume he means a load of lore knowledge?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was... I really enjoyed that. Thank you for that review. I didn't see any, I don't think, with with Harry was the one from last time. I'm just checking. The thing
Thank
about
God it wasn't in that one.
the thing about Harry load. The thing about podcast reviews is like they're not on a single site usually. Like I'm pretty sure on Apple Podcasts you just rate them. Let's see, iTunes podcast reviews. I'm pretty sure you just rate them stars. Like you don't actually. I don't think you leave a full review, but I'm not sure. Maybe I should check that. Maybe I should check that. But yeah, that's all I got for today. Do you have anything else you want to add, Corey?
No, we're playing Minecraft soon.
Yeah, Minecraft in 25 minutes. And next time we will be covering Bad Batch. And apparently it's going to be a good episode. One of the writers or animation directors hinted at it. So yeah.
Bad Batch, that'll be on Friday, of course. We're going to be talking about the episode that aired last week, as well as the episode that's airing tomorrow, rather. We're going to be also talking about the episode that airs next Thursday or Friday.
Sorry, that's right.
So that's 2 episodes covered next Friday. We obviously have to wait until the episode's gone up, so it's not our usual Thursday night episode. But then after that, we will be talking about another book.
Yep.
And
maybe Lost Stars.
Maybe we'll be able to talk to Alex about Lost Stars, Star Wars Explained, and maybe if not, we'll be starting the Black Fleet Crisis.
Sick.
Yeah, exciting.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.